Hi, my name's Tyler, and for the next couple of minutes, we're going to be talking about political ambition. So, it's exactly what it sounds like, the ambition to run for a political office, and there exists this gender gap between men and women that's pretty significant, with men being more likely to run for political office than women. And the theory that best explains this is put forth in Lawless and Fox's It Still Takes a Candidate. It basically it's called gendered socialization theory, and it's three parts: traditional family roles, masculinized ethos, and gendered psyche. So the traditional family roles, you think about 1950s household, 1960s. The man goes out and makes the money in a professional career, and the woman stays home, taking care of the kids, cleaning, cooking, that kind of stuff. So that's exactly what it is. Since then, women have come a long way in professional careers, but they still have all these responsibilities that have been traditionally for women to do. They are primarily responsible for raising a family. They primarily responsible for the housework. And they have a hard time balancing these things, so they end up usually choosing either a career or, filling that family role. And that obviously prevents some women from wanting to run for office. Masculinized ethos, it's, politics is a boys' club. It's a man's world. Dominated by men historically, and as such, it's tailored for men's success. And then it's not, not purposely. People aren't, the world of politics isn't trying to say, like, we don't want any women, so we're going to do things this way. It's just the way it's always been done, and it isn't conducive to women's success. And I think it's most evident in the political recruitment area. And so in Lawless and Fox, they say that just having a suggestion to run, being recruited to run, increases a woman's chance of considering running for office by almost 50%. That's pretty significant, but the institutions that make up the recruitment arena, they have mostly men, and their networks are mostly men, so they recruit men. And that's just the way it is. It's the masculinized ethos of politics. Third is the gendered psyche. So that's kind of both put together, but it just makes women think, it reinforces these things. It basically makes women think that politics isn't for me, For a woman to be successful, they have to be way more qualified than a man to win, just because it's a man's world. And it basically makes women who are otherwise fantastic candidates think that they're not qualified, and that makes them less likely to run. So these gaps in political ambition basically lead to the underrepresentation of women in politics. And not surprisingly, there's some policy consequences that follow from this. So having less women in the legislature kind of means that there's going to be less legislation of women's issues. So women are the ones who care about women's issues. Guys generally don't think about them. So, at least, in Congress. So, they're not present. But we have women in Congress, and they're significantly more likely to, advocate for women's health issues. There's political scientist Michelle Swears in a 2002 paper showed that women are more likely to pursue women's interest bills like child care bills, domestic violence legislation, abortion, preventative women's care, stuff like that. And that's absent if there's no women's voice in the legislature. Another thing is that they have input on other bills, so things that aren't related to specifically women's health, so like military, they say women are more likely to, Michelle Swears also found that women are more likely to push for things like welfare services for military members and their families, women in combat roles, sexual harassment stuff, healthcare for military families. Also, women are more likely to advocate for rehabilitation programs rather than punitive programs in crime and punishment laws. Third, women bring a kind of different style of governing and legislating to the table. In a Steinhauer article, I think it was Women Make Historic Gains in the Senate, we talked about it in class in one of the first weeks. Steinhauer said that female legislatures in policy negotiations are much more willing to, cross party lines, work together, cooperate with the policy goal in mind rather than political goals. So, men they toe the party line, they're not going to cooperate with the other side, and it results in the gridlock we see in Congress today. So having that congenial, cooperative approach that women bring to the table in Congress would be a welcome change, and that would certainly affect the, passage of public policy in America. So we know the gap is there, we know it causes problems, how do we fix it? So I think the biggest way to do it is, I've talked about political recruitment and the effect that it has on a woman's likelihood to consider a candidacy. And I think that is the most important and easiest, simplest, most effective way we can start to, close this gap. So if we have more institutions that are whose sole focus is to get women to run, basically, would significantly improve women's political ambition. There's already, the Democrats have kind of taken steps to get there. They got these organizations called Emily's List and the White House Project, and they basically help women's campaigns, but they don't really help the candidate emergence process. You could argue that, yeah, when they see these campaigns working, they'll say, oh, well, I can run. But if we could just get more institutions to directly say, hey, you're a qualified candidate, you're a woman, you ever thought about running for politics? You should. That, increases a woman's likelihood of running by almost 50%. So that's huge, and that could have a huge effect on closing the gender gap in political ambition. So another thing is it kind of is the ends to accomplish the means, but just having more women in politics. Women who are represented in Congress women who are represented by women in Congress in the Senate have increased levels of political ambition, involvement, and engagement, and that was found in Fritkin and Kenny's book, The Changing Face of Representation. So having these figures, these political figures, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, these high-profile political figures, makes women think that, you know what, they're doing it, I can do it too, and that would have a huge effect. And yeah, but it's the ends. But having more women in Congress, we're getting there slowly. Even women in the White House would have huge effects on closing the political ambition gap. Thanks.